The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Wyoming Women's Business Center's 2020 webinar series. Today's presentation is Guerilla Marketing, Strategic and Scrappy Marketing for Small Business. I'm Christine Langley, and I'm going to be your moderator today. You'll notice the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen. I want to call attention to both the questions panel as well as the chat panel. If you have any questions or comments, I want you to use these panels to communicate with us during the presentation. And so this webinar is being recorded. It's going to be available on our YouTube channel. You can just go to youtube.com and type in Wyoming Women's Business Center. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and check out our other webinars that are also listed there. You can also visit our website at wyomingwomen.org or look for us on Facebook or Instagram. So immediately following this presentation, we're going to have a survey launch, and I'd ask everybody to just stay on for an extra couple minutes and complete that quick 5-question survey because it provides us and our funding partners with a lot of valuable information. So once again, all of our participants are muted to minimize background noise. And if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, go ahead and use that chat box or that questions panel. So we're going to jump right in today and talk a little bit about the Wyoming Women's Business Center and you, just so you understand who we are and what this webinar, where this webinar comes from and how this series is done. And then we'll go right into our content of Guerilla Marketing, and we're going to save a little bit of time at the end for questions and answers. So the Wyoming Women's Business Center is a nonprofit organization, and we assist individuals who want to start or expand small businesses specifically in the state of Wyoming. And we do this through 3 specific programs. So the first is business training and counseling. The second is access to capital through our microloan program and individual development accounts programs. And then lastly, we have a professional artist development center. So this webinar today is brought to you by our microloan program. And we do initiate microloans anywhere between $500 and $50,000 to help fund startups or expansions for Wyoming businesses. And so if you'd like more information on our microloan department, you can contact Waldo Smith, and his information is on your screen right now. And so without further ado, I want to introduce Jessica today. Jessica is a communications consultant. She's a community cheerleader and a freelance writer based in Laramie, Wyoming. She's super passionate about capturing the authentic stories of people and their places, and she strongly believes in the power of activating neighborhoods with memory-making experiences, shared narrative, and a heart-centered approach. And she works as a contractor serving Wyoming and the Rocky Mountain region. So we're very excited to have Jessica with us today, and her company's name is Rooted Local. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to change presenters here so we can throw up Jessica's screens. Jessica, how's that working? Are you seeing a...
I'm not seeing a prompt for it.
Okay. I had you logged in here twice, so let me try that one. Are you seeing that prompt?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
We love it when technology works. And I can see your screen now. Beautiful.
All right.
We love your logo.
Awesome. Thank you. I feel like we had our first technology issue, so hopefully we're in the clear now.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I want to apologize. I woke up with a cold this morning, so I'm going to try really hard not to sound snotty on here.
Not to sound too nasally.
Yeah, I don't want to annoy you all, but I'm prepared with what I think I need to make it through. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about strategic and scrappy marketing for your small business. So Christine, if I could go ahead and have you launch that first poll,
okay,
and then I will introduce myself.
Let's do it. So we want to get a sense from everybody that's on the call today. What type of business are you representing? Are you a nonprofit? Are you a service-based business? Are you a product-based business? Are you a local government or a business support organization? And so some people might say, well, I'm a little bit of a service and a product business. You know, say you're a carpet cleaner and you sell carpet cleaning supplies to your customers, right? They can buy product from you. You have special cleaning agents that they can purchase from you, but you're also a service business because you clean carpets in people's homes or businesses. I want you to pick the thing that you make the most money from, right? So you're more so of a service business in that example that I just gave you versus a product business. So 4 different options there. We've got about 80 plus 83% of the attendees have voted so far. So I just want to give everybody a couple more seconds. All right, everybody, let's close that out and let's take a look at what we've got. All right, Jessica.
Cool. Yeah, so it seems like we've got a pretty good split there, but mostly not nonprofits, which is mostly what I was going for. How do we get back to my screen?
I'm going to hide the results, and now we're back to your screen.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So a little bit about me, and a lot of the reason why I asked that, I mean, I really, of course, wanted to know what businesses you all were here representing. I saw some familiar faces in there, but a lot of unfamiliar as well. And so I think a lot of guerrilla marketing, a lot of the punch that comes from it is how you use it for your organization or business, and that's going to look different for all of you. And it's something that I'm really passionate about because of my experience. So I opened a small bakery in downtown Laramie right out of college, and I ran that business kind of as a test of going through the school of hard knocks, and that's how I learned a lot of the marketing stuff that I know today is from doing it myself. From there, I started working with Laramie Main Street, supporting downtown Laramie and the full district of businesses. I started exploring more economic development, broader scope opportunities, and then started doing more freelance work with communities and small businesses, many of which are in the nonprofit world. So whether you're in the nonprofit sector or not, the thing that I think we all have in common is sometimes we need to get scrappy. And Christine and I were joking that strategic and scrappy title seems to resonate with a lot of people. And I think that's because whether you're here representing your small business or a nonprofit, if you've been around for many years or you're just launching, chances are you're familiar with what it's like to be scrappy with resources in, whether that's time or money or what have you, energy. So the other thing that I think is kind of pertinent about my story is I work a lot in the wellness industry, in counseling and in body work, and I think that seems kind of irrelevant on the surface, but the truth of the matter is something you'll see weave through my narrative is I really care about people, and I really care about their attachment to their place and how that fits into their life. And I think quality marketing comes from that place where you truly are passionate about what you're doing. We could try to make the sale and get somebody to get a bargain and go through those processes, but really where you really get people who are loyal to you and your business and what you're offering is when you meet them where they're at, where you get close and understand what their life looks about. So what we're going to talk about here in the next 30 minutes or so is a few things. First off, why is marketing important for my business? We all know it's important, but why is it, what is it actually doing for me? And next, what is guerrilla marketing? We'll go over a few examples of this. And then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about how to start building a promotion with these ideas in mind. So if we could go ahead and launch that second poll, we're going to ask what kind of marketing channels you are using in your business right now.
And so what I did here was I just tried to group, print marketing into newspaper, magazine, brochures, even billboards, which that's a little bit of a stretch, but just print in general. I grouped social media and online marketing. You may be doing click ads, or you may just be doing Facebook and Instagram. You might be doing paid ads on Facebook and Instagram, but just all of that in one bucket. And you do have the option of selecting more than one answer here. So if you're doing networking and events and social media, you can hit both. If you're also doing swag, like you printed up t-shirts or pens or, small giveaways that you can do for your business. And then radio or television. I find a lot of my smaller clients, don't have the budgets to be doing radio and television, but you never know. And so this is awesome. We've got almost 90% of our vote in so far. I'll give you guys a couple more seconds. Good. All right, so let's close this out and take a look. A lot of print.
Awesome.
Yeah, a lot of networking and social media. Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
That makes me happy to see networking in there. I feel like sometimes that one is the forgotten one.
Right.
So as you can see, there's many ways that we can market our businesses. Everything from newspaper ads, magazine ads, brochures, social media, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, Snapchat, Instagram. There's new things every day. And then you get into those networking and events, which I think if all of us are here of representing some town in Wyoming, or have an attachment to Wyoming in some capacity, we truly can understand the value of word of mouth, and I think that's huge. So I'm really glad to see that the majority of you all are engaging in that. And then there's radio or television and swag giveaway items. So marketing really is, in my mind, is storytelling. And I think it depends on who you talk to and how ingrained they are in marketing and sales and all of that, and where they decide where that line is. There's making the sale, really kind of putting the pressure on to make that happen. And then there's really the bigger brand and the messaging and all of that. And that gets divided out in many different ways. But ultimately, for me, in my experience, marketing is the opportunity to tell your story, which is how you make money. It's how you get customers. With that, you're building your audience and you're retaining them. So you're showing them, hey, this is what I represent. These are my values. Does that resonate with you? And if we have shared values, then we'll stick together. And with that comes customer trust. So if you think about a product that maybe you really love and enjoy, that you're really loyal to, you probably would understand that somewhere down the line they built your trust. They got you somewhere in the feelings, and that was where you attached to them. And the one I always think of, just because it's so true to me, is Apple products. I have an Apple laptop and an iPhone and an iMac, and every time I know it's time to upgrade to something, I almost don't even look at other brands, just because I'm so loyal to this company. Almost like I sold my soul to them in a way. But I think somewhere along the line, they captured me as their audience member, and they've kept me. And I think we can get so focused on marketing to new people that we forget about those people who are really loyal to us. And that shows up in small businesses just as much as it does in big businesses. If you think about the coffee shop you go to every day, or the bakery that you get your kids' birthday cakes from, you have relationships with these people. And that's what marketing is. It's relationship building. It's much like dating, I think. It's kind of like a courting process where you decide if you're into each other and if you're gonna move forward. So it shows your value proposition. It shows how you stand out from the crowd, from your competitors. What's different about you? What's unique about you? It allows you to make connections, whether that's connections with your audience or connections within your industry, which allows for collaboration with your peers. I think especially in small business, collaboration is huge, because it allows you to dip into another person's audience pool, when maybe, say you have an audience of 100 and your neighbor has an audience of 100, and 50 of those don't know about the other one. So then you collaborate together, and you're allowed to say, hey, here's my neighbor, I love what they're doing, they love what we're doing, let's all check each other's stuff out, and really kind of to grow and expand that way. We're so much more likely to make a purchase or even enter a business or browse a website or book a service with somebody when we have that proof that somebody enjoyed it, that it was in service to them. I think when I taught this last week, I was in the process of trying to buy a duvet cover for my bed, and so I've been looking online at duvet covers just for an obnoxious amount of time, and so my Instagram and my Facebook is full of all of these targeted ads because they know I'm looking at duvets. But I just can't pull the trigger. I still haven't bought one because I can't pull the trigger on one, because what I really want to know is, what is something that somebody likes? What is something that holds up? What, like, I want a friend of mine to say, hey, this is really awesome. I love it. It's lasted a long time. You should check it out too. So that's really something that we can do with our messaging and our storytelling. And lastly, I mean, this all leads to making money, which is important for us to do whatever it is that we want to do. And I think we could love everything that we're doing, whether we're in the nonprofit sector or service-based or product-based, what have you. We could love what we're doing and be very passionate about it. That doesn't eliminate the fact that we need to make money. So marketing is a conversation, not a transaction. I think, just like I mentioned before, it's much like dating and starting that conversation happening with people. And I think this is where a lot of people can kind of get lost, is they look for that magic bullet. Somebody comes in and tries to sell them a radio ad or a newspaper ad or a listing in an online database or something with under the guise that it's going to get them many customers very quickly. And truthfully, that's not really it. It's all opportunities to start conversations. So if you could go ahead and launch that third poll, that's going to ask, what best describes your relationship with marketing for your business and organization so far?
And I like these answers, Jessica. I feel great about my marketing strategy. I'm guessing we're not going to have as many people picking that one, or they maybe wouldn't be on this call. Although sometimes I have people jump on a webinar because they just want to confirm that what they're doing is good. And
yeah,
so especially when we talk accounting and bookkeeping, sometimes we get our people that are doing a lot of the good stuff, but they're trying to make sure. All right, so that's that first statement. The second one, I'm marketing here and there, but I'm ready to experiment essentially with guerrilla marketing or something different. And then the last one is, I'm not marketing at all. And don't feel bad if that's you. Sometimes if it's not our specialty, it's not what we want to focus on. But just being on the call today means that you're one step ahead. All right, we've got over 90% of the vote in, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out and let's share it. Kind of clearly in the middle.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so to see that 20% that's not marketing at all, just like Christine said, that's no reason to feel shame. I'm not here to shame you. I think something that is really, really, really common is marketing is one of the first things to get dropped off the list, especially regardless of what you're doing. There's things to do, there's bills to pay, there's your product to make or your service to offer, there's employees to manage and paperwork and all sorts of stuff. Marketing is often the thing that gets cut off because it requires time and energy and money and also research and experimentation. And I think this is one of the things that's most frustrating for businesses and individuals, marketers in any capacity, is that there isn't a cut and dry answer. You could look to your neighbor who's running a campaign and it could be hugely successful for them, and you could do the exact same thing and it might not work. There is no guarantee. So there is a lot of experimentation and curiosity that is important in marketing that will really allow you to find where you jive with your audience. So if we can go ahead and launch that fourth poll, this asks a little bit about your barriers to marketing to see maybe where your guys' struggles are popping up.
All right, so when we look at the barriers, you got a few different options here. I don't have the time. My budget doesn't allow for it. I struggle to come up with creative ideas. I'm frustrated with the effectiveness of what I've done, or I really don't enjoy it. So, which one of those best describes you? And you may have 2 or 3 of those that best describes you, but I think I forced you into just picking the one that describes you the best. So just pick one of those. I know one of the conversations, Jessica, that I have with clients sometimes is, the difference between fixed costs in your business, like I have to pay the power bill, right, or the water bill for my building or my rent, versus your variable expenses. And that tug of war in your head as to whether or not your marketing expenses or the amount that you budget for marketing, is that a fixed cost in your mind? Like this is how much I'm going to invest in marketing in my business on an annual basis or on a monthly basis, or is it variable in your mind where, well, if I can cut something, I'll cut marketing. And
yeah, absolutely.
And so that's always a conversation that I have with clients about, if you can think of marketing as more of a fixed cost of your business, I'm always going to spend a certain percentage of my revenue, on marketing in my business, then it's a little bit easier to spend than if you're constantly looking at that as, like an extra thing in your business. Almost like, should I buy the thing at the checkout counter or not? That isn't how we should view marketing when it comes to our business, but unfortunately, mindset has a lot to do with it.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, so I guess that doesn't surprise me. There's a pretty even split on that. And it's good to see that most of you enjoy it would appear.
Yeah, excellent. And everybody is willing to put in some time, it looks like.
Yeah. So all of those things, I have felt those frustrations in everything I've ever marketed for my own business, for the nonprofits I work for the clients I work for. I am deeply empathetic to every struggle you're feeling in this realm. And I think it can be really frustrating to navigate, and especially when you're investing your money and your time into it. And traditional advertising campaigns can be really quite expensive, depending on what you're looking at. You could buy magazine ads for thousands and thousands of dollars, and many small businesses simply don't have that in their budget. So a really great alternative to that kind of allows us to market and experiment without putting as much money in is what's called guerrilla marketing. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys if you're familiar with guerrilla marketing or not. That's our next poll.
And so this is just simple, guys, just yes or no. Are you familiar with this concept of guerrilla marketing or not so much? And that's why you're on the call today.
Okay, cool.
We're doing good. 96% have voted. Let's go ahead and close this out.
Can we just go right? Can we go right to the next poll question too, which is asking if you've participated in a guerrilla marketing campaign?
You bet. So it looks like 3/4 of our people are a no on guerrilla marketing.
Cool.
Looks like I got a little clicky there and closed it at the same time that I opened it.
Okay, well, that's all right. We can just cruise past it. Okay, so I'm glad to hear that a lot of you aren't familiar with guerrilla marketing, because that'll make this significantly less boring for you. But it's often called other things. So chances are you all probably are familiar with guerrilla marketing and you've engaged in it. You just aren't, maybe you haven't thought of it that way. So guerrilla marketing is truly scrappy marketing in my mind. And we're going to go over a few examples that you'll see in big media versus some examples from here in Laramie that I think are much smaller scale and maybe a little more digestible than some of the big national campaigns. But generally speaking, Guerrilla marketing is something that surprises and delights you. It stops you. It's outside of the box. It's something, the way I always think about it is it's something that compels you to take a photo of it or to take a photo with it. So just like this picture of this, I love you like biscuits and gravy. I was just looking for a generic kind of stock photo for this slide, and then I stumbled into this. And truly this is perfect because you see stuff like this on Instagram and Facebook all the time where people see public art or signs or little things that make them laugh outside of a business or within a community. And that 100% is guerrilla marketing. It doesn't tell you, hey, come in here and buy biscuits and gravy, but it does make you linger there. And chances are next time you want to buy biscuits and gravy, you're going to think about, oh, hey, remember that truck I saw with that sign on it? And that can be really powerful. I would argue that it's just as powerful as something like radio advertising, which is often sold saying that you want to be at the top of mind. So you have routine ads on the radio that show up throughout the week. You're not going to be driving down the street and hear an advertisement for a sandwich shop and all of a sudden just decide, oh my gosh, I need a sandwich right now. I'm going to, pull over and get one. You're just going to remember those commercials, and the next time you want a sandwich, maybe you'll check out that sandwich shop. So this is the exact same thing for significantly less cost. So a lot of times they're community focused. It involves engaging with your community, engaging with a group of people. In the work I do in economic development, we do a lot of what's called placemaking or working in place attachment, which is just creating experiences where passerbys linger, whether it's cafe tables outside of a restaurant, or it's a mural, or it's a piece of art, or something that just makes you stay just a little bit longer. And the idea there is that you stay just a little bit longer, and then maybe you notice the coffee shop and you decide, I want a coffee, or you walk around some more and you decide, hey, let's grab lunch. Maybe you decide to go out to dinner, or then you come back and you get a hotel, and then there's more revenue being generated within a community and supporting all these businesses. So it's the exact same idea, just in a smaller scale. So a lot of times they're experience-based. When we saw those flash mobs happening, I feel like that was like 5 or 6 years ago. I think that's very much so something I consider to be guerrilla marketing. Something you'll see in big campaigns is anything that's viral. So I would say stuff that you stumble into, that you talk to your friends about, ads, or the way people are engaging national companies, that's guerrilla marketing. Granted, we don't really see Laramie's viral is going to look different than LA's viral, but I think it still has the power to spread. And a term for guerrilla marketing that I actually like much more is grassroots marketing, which I think it just sounds a little bit less hostile. And that's truly what it is, especially, we're all here representing smaller organizations, smaller communities, and that's really what it's about, is getting to the root of it. So a few examples on the big scale. I don't know, I think this was last year, the Fiji Water girl, I think this was at the Golden Globes, something, one of the awards shows, but these women were walking around with Fiji Water, just kind of like photobombing people. And it was kind of weird, but everybody was talking about it. And that's an example of guerrilla marketing. They got their brand out there. And I'm certain because of the scale of this, they probably had to pay to get in there, and it was very curated in a way. But compared to buying, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on national television ads, they did this instead, and people started sharing it on social media and talking with their friends, and the news channels picked it up. It's like, what the heck is this? And so they got their brand name out there over and over and over again, which truthfully is kind of genius. This McDonald's crosswalk, I don't actually know where this is at, but this is an example of how public art could work to really represent your brand. We see a lot of murals happening. I know a lot of musicians have put murals in bigger cities to advertise their albums or their tours or something like that. And that's because right now public art is really huge, and people are engaging in it. So putting a brand on it is a way to get your brand photographed and shared without having to pay to share it necessarily. So this would be an example of they would have to pay for the permitting and the material and the artist and all of this to do something like this versus paying for a traditional advertising campaign, whether print or TV or what have you. And even for McDonald's, even at this scale, I guarantee that this was a way cheaper alternative for them. Another example of kind of like viral content is the fast food folks on Twitter, which I think it's been a couple years since this was really big. I think it's still going on, but for a while there, Wendys had a reputation, and maybe they still do, as being kind of like playing into that clapback culture where they would just say really sassy things to their customers, to other businesses, and so it became really kind of funny to watch, and people started sharing it. By no means am I telling all of you guys to go out there and be sassy to your competitors. I don't think that's a great move and not advisable. However, I do think they found something that people started engaging with and sharing, and somewhere I'm certain they have huge teams of people who are analyzing their customer base, and something about their customer base really likes this kind of content. You wouldn't see this come from a more wholesome brand, and that's just because every ad campaign looks different for every company. But I think this again is an example, even on this broad of scale. Wendys is paying their social media managers to do their job, and they're using social media, which is free, to put this content out there versus having highly expensive campaigns to get the word out there. And all of these tweets turned into, they started a day. It was like national. I don't know. I don't remember. It was national. It was like a national day of something, and you would tweet at Wendys, and they would tweet a clap back at you, because people just really wanted that, which is kind of funny. But again, probably not advisable for most of us here today. So some examples of what this would look like on a much smaller scale, because I don't think any of us really are on the level of Fiji and McDonald's at this point. So these are some examples from here in Laramie. So here on the left, this is from Bond's Brewing, which is a brewing company that opened here in the summer and spring, late spring. And they have been really great about hosting events that engage the public. They do things like pumpkin carving nights, they play Christmas movies. This is a photo from a salsa competition. They do, there's a workout class there. They're highly collaborative within their community. And the truth of the matter is, they're spending money to buy pumpkins and supplies for people to come in and carve pumpkins, and there's no guarantee that anybody's going to buy beers from them. But what is happening is people are coming there and having a good time, and then they're buying beers, and they're remembering that they had a good time doing this, that they got to do something that brought them joy. They could bring their family in, they could eat from a food truck, they could do something outside the box, and so they're going to go back to that place. They're going to keep an eye on their on their next event. They're going to keep spending their money there, which is a really, really wonderful way of engaging community and letting them know, hey, we care about you and what you're doing, and not everything we give you is going to be a sale. We're starting this relationship by saying, if hey, buy a beer from us, we're going to give you a good time, and I think that's really, really brilliant. On the right here, this is from the Good Egg, which just opened here a couple of weeks ago, actually. And they are doing a win-free brunch for 2 people every month for a year. And this was just like a Instagram campaign. You shared it, tagged your friends, that kind of thing. And all they did for this was post this graphic on Instagram and ask people to share it. And so then people started sharing it on their own feeds, and then that started to spread, which cost them $0. It will cost them the price of feeding 2 people brunch every month for 1 year, but compared to what a newspaper ad or a radio ad campaign could cost, that probably is pennies on the dollar. And in the meantime, they were able to build their audience and get people interested in what they are doing. Everybody who shared this, whether they won the brunch or not, they now know that they can eat brunch in Laramie, and they didn't know that before. So I think that's a really good example of a social media campaign. Here on the left, this is actually from my, I did yoga teacher training this fall, and we went around for one of our assignments. We went around with these signs that said free hugs, which is truly like the most squishy, lovey-dovey campaign one could ever do. And we weren't doing it as a campaign, but I joked with the studio owner the whole time that we should have had business cards. We should have had our logo on the signs so people knew, you know, you go and you offer somebody a free hug, you hug them, and it led to these really wonderful conversations where, you know, people who you wouldn't expect would say thank you, or, you know, this is so great, this is so wonderful. And it was like a really kind of beautiful connecting experience. And to then take that and to say, if you enjoyed this experience, then this studio like is run on this kind of energy. A yoga studio is looking for the kind of person who gets excited about free hugs, in the same way that the Good Egg is looking for people to get excited about brunch with a friend, in the same way that Bonds is excited about people that get excited about bringing their family out and interacting as a community. So I think that also is a really great example, because it costs as much as those signs and the pens to write free hugs on it. It's basically $0. Another one there on the right, that's just a photo from a floral shop here in Laramie, Poppies. She did, I don't know if she's done it this last year, but she did what was called, I think it was Petal It Forward, and it was basically just a pay it forward kind of event. So you would get 2 little wraps of flowers with the idea that you would get to keep one, and then you would give one to the next person. And it had her business card or like a stamp with her business name on it. And it really is a great way to spread that joy of feeling what it feels like to receive flowers. You know, I could just hand somebody a business card that says, look at this floral shop. It's really beautiful. Next time you get flowers, you should go to them. Or I can give you the experience of receiving flowers at no cost for no reason, and then you're going to remember that and likely be curious to check it out and see what else there is there. So that's a campaign that I've always really liked. Another experience-based one is, this is from Base Camp here in Laramie, and it's called, it was just Learn to Ski Day. And yeah, I guess that's this weekend, huh? She is doing one day where people can come and have free ski rentals and just kind of experiment and see if they like skiing. And so that's going to cost her, you know, time and, you know, whatever maintenance she has to do on the skis and hauling stuff around and all of that. However, if she gets new people there who've never skied before, who have been apprehensive about it because of the cost of renting skis, then they're likely going to remember that. And when they want to go out again with their friends, or they want to purchase skis or equipment or what have you to support their newfound ski love, then they're going to remember her store. And so that's going to lead to more sales. So I think this is a really, I mean, this plays well into that courtship conversation side of marketing. I'm really starting the relationship off by saying, hey, let's just see, let's see if we're into each other here. So those are just a few examples. Before we get into questions, I'm going to talk a little bit about building your next promotion. And I think the most important thing here is knowing your audience. So I have one last poll, if we could launch that one. So this is asking, when it comes to knowing my business or organization's target audience, I feel.
So some people may feel very confident. You definitely know your customer, kind of who they are and how that fits with your business. Some people may feel somewhat confident. You think you have a general understanding, but yet maybe haven't narrowed it down to be able to, you know, describe the personality of your customer. The next one is indifferent. You know, you haven't given it much thought because you're just sort of focused on delivering, you know, your service or your product. And then maybe this is kind of a confusing question to you and you're just struggling to understand who your customer even is at this point. All right, we got 100% of the vote in. Good job, everybody. Let's share that out.
Cool. All right, so it seems like pretty average in there. So I think at the core of every effective marketing campaign, whether you're doing one of these guerrilla or grassroots marketing campaigns, or you're doing something more traditional, is to know your audience and to know what it is they're looking for. So just as I mentioned before, my strategy in marketing is always based around storytelling. And so I think there's a really simple way to break that down, and that's to think about your favorite stories, your favorite movies, your favorite stories that you read as a kid or novels that you read now. Every story has the same parts that make it up, and every marketing campaign or marketing strategy has the exact same moving pieces, whether they're in your face and represented in your ad or experience, or they're just being thought through as you're building the campaign. So first, you're going to think about the characters, and that is your customer base, and what does their life look like. So that would be what your setting is, your target market. Where do they live? What are they experiencing? What kind of things are they doing outside of your product? Just like with Bonds hosting those events, they know that their customers are doing more than just drinking beer in their brewery. They're doing things with their families. There's a lot of young families, so they want stuff they can do with their kids. So then they can play Christmas movies and bring in the food truck, or they're engaged in fitness, so they want to check out this fitness class. Your setting and your target market, I think looking at them from a broader lens than just they need a beer, they need brunch, they need flowers, is where you can really start to create thoughtful campaigns that are in service to you and in service to building that really thoughtful relationship that can last purchase after purchase after purchase. So the plot is basically they're just living their lives, however that looks. And then the conflict is they have a problem or a need. And if you have a service, then maybe that's more clear. I need a haircut, I need a plumber, I need to buy a house. Or, if you have a product that makes their life easier, I provide a dining experience that brings them joy. I have groceries for them. I have, some sort of apparel item that makes it easier for them to dress for the things they like to do, or to pack for the trips I want to go on, or to engage in my life easier. And then lastly is the resolution. And so that's whatever it is that you're doing. That's your product, your service. That's what your nonprofit is doing. That's what your organization is offering the community at large. So in the end, the whole idea is you're the superhero in the story. So you have, you're coming to the rescue thoughtfully, and you're going to rescue your customer with whatever product you have. Now, I'm not telling you all to have a very inflated ego about this in your marketing campaigns necessarily, but that is the core narrative of every marketing strategy that you're ever trying to execute is, I see you, I see your problem, I'm going to save you with my solution. And I think that's important to hold on to. I think being humble is a very notable trait a lot of times. But in marketing, we have to know our worth. We have to know what we're offering, and we have to speak it confidently and strategically in order to really capture the people who are going to continue to come back to us, so we can grow and we can learn from them, and we can build. It's really a relationship that just builds and builds and builds over time. So something that I stumbled into a while ago is what was called a content recipe. And I think this could be true if you're making a Facebook post, an advertisement, or you're planning an event. And that's this recipe. So a third part's know, so making your customers know who you are, so telling your stories. And then a third part's like, so that's seeing how you connect, how your lifestyles look like. We like the same things, we drive the same cars, we drink the same beers, we engage in the same activities, we're the same age group or the same socioeconomic status, what have you. And then a third part, trust. So that's really showing up there with that superhero confidence and saying, I know what I'm doing. I'm offering you something of value. This is going to support you, and continuing to prove that over and over again through each transaction, whether that's in sale or in conversation or advertisement along the way. And lastly, with just a pinch of action, so always having some sort of call to action there. I mentioned with the yoga teacher training that it would have been great to have the business's name or business cards there. If we were truly doing that to advertise the business, that call to action would be to have a card with the studio information on it that says, hey, come check out a class. In Poppy's flower bouquets, the call to action is having her business information on those flowers, because it would be great to get flowers or to get a hug or to get, to learn to ski. But if you don't know who's offering this and how can I learn more, how can I engage more, how do I get to that second date with this person, then it's just gonna fizzle out. So I think that's a really important pinch to hold on to there. So in summary, I hope that wasn't too much too fast. We talked about basically, I need to be marketing my business regardless of what I'm doing, what I'm offering. I need to be marketing my business now, and I need to continue to be marketing my business. And there are options for creatively creating campaigns with limited resources for me. So with that, I will pop into questions if there's any questions.
All right, terrific. And I'm just going to change the presenter really quick while we're waiting for some people to type in some questions. And I did have one right away, which is, would you consider recognizing or rewarding the top fans on Facebook? Is that considered guerrilla marketing?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. And that's something I've never actually seen people do. I've seen that top fans badge show up on pages. But I do think it would be a good way to really engage with the people who are engaging with you. And I think with that, the most important thing to hold on to is, what is that call to action? So maybe you reward them with a coupon or a t-shirt with your logo on it, or something cool. But just be sure that you say, hey, can I take a photo to post to our page? Or like, will you give them referral cards or something like that, so there's a way to continue moving it forward.
Excellent. All right, we got another one. If you have multiple groups you're marketing to, how do you make sure you're reaching them all? This person says, I'm struggling with donor marketing.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with that. In my work with Main Street, we had probably like 5 or 6 groups that we were always trying to talk to. And so with that, I honestly think the best thing you can do is kind of have a plot line or a character summary for each one of those people, knowing, for me, in my experience, when I was talking to a donor, I was trying to present them with different information than when I was trying to talk to, say, local government, or people who I was trying to make sure understood that we were effectively doing the work that we were doing. Some people really want to see stats and numbers. Some people really want stories and experiences. So I think with that is really honing in on each individual kind of sub character that your organization is speaking to, and then planning how to communicate to them effectively. I think, in theory, I wish I could tell you we can just cast this big old wide net and catch all of them at once, but I think the most effective campaigns are going to speak specifically to one of those characters in your realm. And so looking at it that way can guarantee a little bit more success.
So if you have 5 different kind of groups that you've grouped these customers or donors into, coming up with some kind of a campaign that speaks to each one of them. It's a little bit more work, but it's going to be more effective.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I don't have any more questions right now. I'll give you guys just a few more minutes while I go through some just kind of closing information about the Wyoming Women's Business Center. So of course, our program's made possible through lots of partnership agencies. Like most nonprofits in Wyoming, our primary funding comes from the Wyoming Business Council and the Small Business Administration. And so of course, we're super thankful for everyone's support and their guidance in our programs. This is our contact information at WWBC. If you have been through this webinar today, or you're listening to this on our YouTube channel and you think I could use a little bit more direct one-on-one counseling or coaching, here's contact information for all of us at WWBC, and I'd encourage you to reach out to us if you'd like some one-on-one help in marketing or guerrilla marketing specifically. We can always do some brainstorming with you. All right, so let's just check these questions. It looks like I've got one coming in from Cindy. And so she says, my business is web-based and we don't have a storefront. So how do we create a community relationship when everything is online?
I think there's a lot of different tools that are available for that. And I think social media is probably your best option, whether that's just creating really engaging content on your feed. So, you know, you're really responding to your comments, or you're asking thought-provoking questions, and your customers or your audience is engaging with that, and just creating that online experience. You know, some people do that with Facebook groups, or going on like Instagram Live, so then they can interact with people in real time. And I think that's a really effective way to do it. And I honestly think something that's often overlooked is just the power of communicating with your audience on social media and actually making sure you respond to every comment within reason, if you can, you know, saying thank you, or you know, engaging thoughtfully through whatever way that you can. And I guess I don't know if you're offering like a product or something, if you ever are sending something to somebody, then I think a way to engage with them would be like in your packaging, or, you know, doing something thoughtful, that little like extra touch that makes them feel special. And I think you could do that digitally as well. It just depends on what your customer looks like.
Yeah, I feel like I have community with a couple of businesses where I'm part of their Facebook groups, just based on the content that they're pushing out to me on a regular basis. And then you know, and then they're asking me to respond to that content. So whether it's, you know, they're doing some kind of Facebook Live event, or they post some kind of article and then ask people, you know, if that resonates with them, or, you know, can they tell their quick story, or ask them, you know, they ask us a question, they ask their customer base a question, and I respond to that. I feel like the people within that Facebook group are my people, right? And it's all virtual. I've never met any of these people. There's no storefront, but there's a community happening inside that social media platform. So I think that's what you were pointing at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and then we've got another question here. Tara says, as an artist and mother, I have very limited time to devote to marketing. Do you have any tips for better incorporating marketing into a busy schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to that experimentation side of things, and that's figuring out what works for you. Some people really can work well on batch creating stuff, whether that's social media content, or you know, whatever graphics they're using, or you know, spending one day every 6 weeks or something and just really kind of honing in on marketing. I think it's going to look different for you and what makes the most sense. You know, maybe you say, I spend 30 minutes a day on this, and I comb through everything, and I work on whatever campaign is present, or maybe you batch it, do everything once a month. I think that will come with experimentation for you. And I think the biggest thing with marketing that I always try to tell people is, I don't want anybody to ever believe that you need to be 100% at all of it. You don't need to be on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and websites and have events and do all of this. I think if you find your place and you really engage in that and give it your best, I think that's so much more effective than trying to be in too many places at once. So I would say prioritizing, finding the channel that makes the most sense for you, and devoting what time you do have to that.
That's really good feedback. I've always told clients, I'm not sure you can do more than 3 things really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to pick 3 different marketing, channels, then you have to be prepared, to be engaging with those 3 marketing channels. And I also like the batch idea. It kind of reminds me of batch cooking, right? Some people will batch cook on Sunday and they're, good to go for the week. And other people are like, no, I get, my food delivered daily or my groceries delivered every 3 days. And then I'm more creative. And those people that can open their refrigerator and just create a meal out of whatever is there.
Yeah.
These people fascinate me. This is not my world, but I'm sure that in marketing, it's somewhat similar, right? So different things are going to work for different people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, guys, it looks like that's it for questions, and we're coming near our time for today. So we are going to go ahead and close out this webinar. And I want to remind everybody to complete the survey. When we go to close, it's only going to take you, 2 or 3 minutes to answer 5 questions, and we certainly appreciate the feedback. So thanks again for everybody joining us, and thank you so much, Jessica, for being our speaker today. We appreciate your time and your expertise. It was awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, guys, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.